So Canelo Alvarez has made the important announcement around his career today, Tuesday. And that announcement is that he'll be taking on Jermall Charlo on May 4th. Shrug. That's my initial assessment. In the lead up to this, many people were speculating, they were casting their ideas as to what this might be, what this big announcement will be about. Some people were saying, oh, Canelo's going to retire. Some people were saying that he was going to announce that he's changing, like it's a promotional thing, or it's going to be his next fight or a series of next fights. But there was one comment I saw, and I can't remember which post it was on. It was on YouTube, one of the community tab posts. And someone said, quite frankly, it's just going to be Canelo announcing an opponent that nobody wants to see him fight. And, Jermall Charlo, I think that guy hit the nail on the head. So I'm just going to give my initial impressions of this announcement, Canelo taking on Jermall Charlo. As I say, I shrug it. It's not surprising, but it is a little bit disappointing. And I just want to hold my hands up and say, I always try bring a bit of balance to the equation. Like most things in life, boxing, it's not as simple as, oh, this is good, this is bad. It depends on the perspective. It's shades of grey. And now Canelo Alvarez he's a fighter, like many top level fighters, who gets a lot of credit, but also gets a lot of hate. I like to just kind of be on an even keel. Canelo Alvarez, I think, has done great things. I think he is a true competitor. He's a kind of old school throwback fighter. But at the same time, throughout his career, there have been some controversies. There have been some things that are a little bit shady, scandalous, some people might answer. There's a few asterisks next to some of the chapters in Canelo Alvarez's career. That being said, as I say, he's still a great fighter, and he's pushed the boat out in many ways. And so I want to try and look at this announcement through the lens of someone who is impartial and unbiased, because I can't say I'm very impressed by this opponent. I look at Jermall Charlo, who is a good fighter. Like I've said before, I like the Charlos. I find them really entertaining to watch. I think they're both good fighters, not infallible by any stretch, but good solid additions to whatever division they're in. But if we look at Jermall Charlo, he was out of the ring. I mean, he fought somewhat recently. I can't remember exactly when that fight was against Jose Benavidez Jr. But before that, he'd been out the ring for over 2 years. Wasn't it like 2.5 years? And no action was taken against him. He wasn't stripped. He wasn't even made champion emeritus. You remember when the WBC would do that sometimes? If a guy couldn't fight, it's all right, we'll make you champion emeritus, but we're gonna strip you of the belt itself so the division can keep moving. No, he was just given carte blanche to sit on his backside for whatever reason and not defend his title. And I know some people want to talk about the reasons why. Yeah, okay, you're going to have your reasons, but the WBC, we be crooks, as they're very accurately known as, they should have taken some action to stop that title, stop the division from becoming stagnant, but they didn't. And so many people are going to ask, what has Jermall Charlo done to deserve this shot? Because he's going to get a massive payday, but also he's going to get a shot at the undisputed super middleweight crown. Does he really deserve that? Who is he leapfrogging to get that? And then other people, they talk about the other potential options for Canelo Alvarez in fighting Jaime Munguia, fighting Terence Crawford, David Benavidez. And if we talk about those, I'd like to see the Jaime Munguia fight more than this one, absolutely. But is that going to happen, seeing as Munguia is a golden boy fighter on DAZN? Canelo is currently a PBC fighter. Is it realistic? Regardless of whether you want to see that fight or not, as I say, I'd certainly would more than this fight, but is it realistic? I don't think it is. Terence Crawford. Now, that is more realistic. You have Terence Crawford, who's also a PBC fighter, I believe, currently still. But he's much smaller. Yeah, Terence Crawford is a fantastic fighter, phenomenal. a generational type fighter, much like Canelo is, but you know, the highest he's gone up is what, 147 pounds. So then it's a trade-off. It's like, would you rather see Canelo in against an active, uh, highly achieving welterweight, or an inactive, lower achieving middleweight slash super middleweight? You know, I guess it depends on how highly you rate your chances of the smaller man in Crawford being able to beat Canelo. Um, and then we have the elephant in the room, which is David Benavidez. And I've said openly that Canelo Alvarez doesn't seem keen on fighting David Benavidez. You know, he's talking about this stuff. Oh, I don't want to fight a Mexican. Well, that hasn't stopped you in the past. That didn't stop you in 2017 from beating the snot out of Chavez Jr., did it? But all of a sudden it comes to David Benavidez and there's kind of this skirting around from Canelo, which I don't like. That stinks. And regardless of what Canelo's done in his career, if he carries on with that, you know, you got to say that he's swerving, he's ducking David Benavidez. And it's not about whether you think Canelo's better than Benavidez or vice versa. It's about whether they actually fight. And if they don't, what is the reason for that? That being said, I do kind of look at it in the context of, okay, Canelo has this 3-fight deal with PBC. He's had 1 fight already, which was a bit of an easier touch against Jermall Charlo. You know, I don't think many people were over the moon with that fight because they saw it as being as close to a foregone conclusion as possible. And it's not odd in boxing for these 3-fight deals, let's say, to culminate in the 3rd fight is the big fight that everyone wants to see. And so for me, I'm gonna hold off. Okay, I don't like this fight. I think it's kind of, I see it as being on the same level as the Jermall Charlo fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if it unfolds in a similar fashion, whereby, you know, maybe goes the distance. Canelo really just has it mostly his own way, and then picks up a points win or something like that, like a fairly routine fight. You know, both the Charlos, and then leads into the Benavidez fight to really culminate, or that 3-fight deal culminates in, it's like, all right, the big one at the end. So I know some people say, oh, Canelo fanboy, you know, not going to call him out. Hey, I'm calling him out on it. I don't care for this fight, but I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna say, okay, Canelo, you're right. You fight Jermall Charlo, but you got to fight Benavidez next, because that's really the only meaningful fight left at this point. Because I know there was even talk about Canelo rematching Bivol, which, look, if he was to do that, my respect, because I thought Bivol beat him handily in that first fight, and I'm not sure if Canelo can really do much better in a rematch. But I was never keen on that fight just because I didn't really see the point. You know, Bivol won hands down, no real excuses first time around. Whereas with Benavidez, he is seen as Canelo's main rival because he has a bit of a claim to the super middleweight title. And don't get me wrong, like, Canelo did his thing, man. He cleaned up, he got those belts, but it's like, can he just fend off this one last challenge in Benavidez? So we'll have to see. Hopefully this fight kind of comes and goes in May, and then we can go to September and we get Canelo Alvarez versus Benavidez. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is just my take. Feel free to agree, disagree, maybe even add anything you think I've missed. But what do you think? Canelo Alvarez versus Jermall Charlo, May 4th. Let me know down below. But for now, I'll catch you in the next video.